the string. See what happens. All right. Hello, everybody. Thursday night. I gotta take these headphones off. Them old crazy headphones drive me crazy. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Rabun County Rag. If you tune in, make sure you say hello and send me a message, okay? We're going live here. And notice this is Studio B. I normally do it in the office, but I've had this studio for a while, and I decided to clean it up. And this is a one camera angle. I got another camera angle, and I got another camera angle, and back to the original. This is my favorite camera, by the way. I hope it makes me look skinny, good looking. Yeah. Well, good evening, friends and neighbors, and welcome back to another Thursday evening with the Rabun County Rag. If you guys are new to the stream, welcome home. And if you're a regular rider, you know why we're here, to celebrate traditions, voices, and values that make Rabun County the kind of place worth protecting. I gotta mute a speaker. And I'm still learning all this stuff, so if you're watching, send me a little love, show me. Let me change my focus, make sure I'm focused. Did I focus? I think I'm on the, there we go. Hey, y'all. Got her focused up. All right. Anyway, y'all send me a message. Let me know you're watching. And shows I got an excellent connection. Y'all remember I am on the satellite. And from time to time, it will get a little glitchy. Matter of fact, this old computer looking like it's glitching right now. And I don't know if hunting tips honor our roots and keep an eye on the future and call out things worth showing up for. Tonight's theme is roots, rights, and ragtime. From forest trails to fireworks, spring water to bluegrass festivals. This episode, I hope to keep it packed with what it means to live deep in the hills and wide in the heart. So y'all join in with me. Here, let me see, there we go. I'm just checking my cameras. So grab your coffee or your sweet tea and settle in, and let's get to it. Make sure you leave me a comment. Give me something to talk about here. Looks like we're about 4 weeks. About 4 weeks from the opening of Georgia's archery deer season. If you hadn't started, scouting yet, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. So let me know how it's doing. Let me know what you're doing out there, how you're, what kind of scouting you're doing, what you're seeing, what's the signs you look for. Now's the time to get after it. I know it's still a little hot, but heck, man, get after it and get out there and start tracking them down. Looks like the velvet bucks. I've seen a few around here, a couple of healthy ones. They're moving around here in the early mornings and late evenings, and trail cams, you set them up right, you could start tracking them. I don't know if mineral blocks, they're probably pretty good on the food, and they like to have that old sweet corn now. They like that sweet corn, so if you're putting out some corn for them, or they may come to a mineral block. I'm sure they will. It's always good to have water around that mineral block if you can keep them a little water nearby. I've I've been trying to trap the water and kind of direct it down and keep it in a wet spot. But set your sights on muscadines and uh, patches and the white oak and the early clear cuts. That'd be your best bet for finding them. Darn old stream is slowing down again. Y'all have to forgive me. This old thing is laggy. I may have my settings wrong. Like I said, I'm moving into this new studio here. I've had this studio for, like I said, a number of years and got carried away doing other stuff, and it kind of went to a storeroom, throwing all the old gear in here and piling it up. And I got to thinking about it, and I've gotten here started. I got plenty of gear. So I started cleaning it up, and it's just a room that I've had, and it's nothing special. I've got the the backdrop set up pretty nice, so it's pleasing to look at with memorabilia and junk I've collected over the years. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me what I can do to make it better. Tell me. I can't get much of a more of a wider view because it'll show all the. Let me show you. Let me go to. Let me go to the Rabun County rag. The other photo, the other one here, and this is a little PTZ camera, and I can move it around a little bit, but see, it's just the old wall there, a doorway into the office, into the bathroom, and then into the office, and swinging on around here. There's the computer, and this is to my right side, and the computer screen. I don't know how far around it'll go, but looks like it's going pretty far around, and that's the back side with all my shelves and stuff like that. But anyway, heck, man, this is the place that I kind of call my Studio B. Studio B for the Rabun County rag. Let's see if I can get my face back in there, my good-looking face. Yeah, I can make some adjustments in it. Get me centered back up in there. This little old camera, it's almost as good as this camera. Now, this camera you're looking at right here cost about 4 times as much as that first camera I showed you, this one. And this camera, I'm still trying to figure out where all these are. This camera, this camera cost about twice as much as this one here. So, and this is the favorite one because it's really really in a low light, and I don't like them old bright lights when I'm making videos. It blinds me. I can't read what I'm trying to keep up with. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you a lowdown on that. Yeah, it's bow season's about a month out, so start looking for those deer. Start putting the scouting on them, and check out your bow. Start tuning that bow. Make those check those limbs and strings for wear, and make sure your broadheads are flying true, and maybe take a few practice shots and make sure you still got what it takes. Another thing coming up is dove season. Dove season's not that far away. My wife been growing a big old bunch of doves out here in the backyard under the bird feeders. All the little wild birds that get out there and dig through the old bird feeders to get what they think they like the most, and and they'll kick the rest of it out down on the ground, and them dove are down there just getting fat. Last year she had about 12 pair, and I'm not sure how many she's got this year, but I see them out there flying, and they'll land on the oak tree branch right outside the deck there, and look at me at the breakfast table while I'm looking at them. So yeah, it's a dove season. Uh, Opens on Labor Day, I believe, 1st of September. Boy, I'm getting some laggy performance. I need to do something about this. If anybody know anything about this OBS studio and running this ADM processor and blah, 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 and this OBS studio and that old laptop I got in the office, boy, that thing will cook this thing. It's a big old desktop thing. It was supposed to be good, but you know how that is. You don't know nothing about it, all right. Back to the dove season, Labor Day weekend. The first flights usually hit open fields near water sources. Scouting spots like Wiley and Tiger often pay off. Those birds know where the grain and the grit are. Safety reminder on that. Make sure you check those licenses. Confirm your land permissions. There's a lot of farmers out there let you hunt if you approach them properly and they ain't already promised it to somebody else. You got to have the right approach, and don't forget, shared hunting spaces require shared responsibility. Be the hunter your granddad would be proud of. Be courteous and kind and all that stuff. Don't get out there and fight. Darn no quail bird ain't worth getting in a hassle, getting in a big old argument about making an enemy. It's far better to let that person hunt that spot and probably have a friend for life, and from then on he'll probably let you hunt right there with him without giving you any trouble whatsoever. Y'all might be best buddies. You never know how it's going to work out. All right. Anybody go to the Dillard Bluegrass and Barbecue Festival? I believe it was the 2nd of August, last Saturday, wasn't it? 2nd and 3rd? Let me know how that thing turned out. I like a little old banjo music and barbecue. That's a heck of a time. I think we ought to have more bluegrass festivals. It's hot though in August for bluegrass to me. To me, bluegrass ought to be done in the fall of the year. The barbecue and the bluegrass, but maybe they're just trying to fill some time slots. Anyway, I hope you went. Hope you enjoyed that good old mountain music and the community spirit. Make sure you bring a chair and your appetite. Also, they had a Big E Elvis tribute this weekend at the Civic Center. If you got a little hound dog in you, I hope you showed up and had a good time. Live performance with the sock hop and the spirit of rock and roll, Rabun County style. We've had some fireworks too. We're fixing to have some more come fireworks in downtown Clayton, August 31st. Says here, celebrating our 200th birthday. Rabun County and Clayton, 200 years. Let's see, that's 1824. Boy, I bet it was a Wild West town back then, don't you know? All the darn Indians still running up and down the roads and in the taverns and whatever. But it says here, 200th birthday with live music, local food, and fireworks against the silhouette of Black Rock Mountain. Don't miss this one. I think that'd be a good time to have another bluegrass festival. What y'all think? Anyway, let's change Oh, that darn old camera went out on me again. That's that old Canon camera. That thing, I think it times out every 20 or 30 minutes. Old Canon don't want you to have no fun with their cameras. They do all kinds of tricky stuff. It's hardly worth buying the darn thing. I love the colors on them when you get good light, and I do a lot of landscape photography and wildlife photography and with this camera, and I like it. But back to the old Ozbot. Back to the Black Rock Mountain and the barbecue, and that's on August 31st. Now, these events, they ain't just fun. They're how we stay connected. This dadgum old camera, it doesn't got up and eased up on me. Let's see if I can back out a hair. Ain't that the weirdest thing? Y'all don't know nothing about this stuff, man. I'm in here trying to fool around. Whoop. Trying to provide a quality program for y'all, and doggone it, this thing is messing with me. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm tired of fooling with it. If y'all don't like it, let me know, and I'll whine about it some more. Anyway, I'm just flipping through. I'm setting up all these cameras, just trying to give different angles, and plus trying to improve the quality of this thing. But anyway, I was up on, when I was a kid, used to spend a lot of time up in on Moccasin Creek. I believe there's an old CCC camp up there, and there were some ruins and some concrete structures, and you run across that stuff out through there every now and then. But President Roosevelt started that program during the Great Depression. It was called the Civilian Conservation Corps. Now, there's a bunch of other programs that the government had to ignite to keep people from starving in this country. But the CCC brought hundreds of young men to Rabun County. And these guys weren't tourists either. They were hard-working mountain boys who built trails, planted trees, and shaped the public lands we enjoy today. All these roads out through here on these highways, it is roads that these boys put together. And we still use a lot of them today. Now, some of them they might have cut off public access to for whatever reason, but at least we still have them. Take a hike at the Tallulah Gorge or visit Black Rock Mountain State Park, and you're walking where CCC boots once stomped. They built cabins, ranger stations, fire towers, and not with power tools, but with sweat, grit, and steel. They did a lot of work. That's the CCC didn't just give those guys jobs. It gave us an infrastructure that's still standing strong nearly 100 years later. And that's the kind of legacy. That's the kind of legacy we can really believe in. We ought to aim for it and build things that last. And I'm in the construction industry, and I have another live stream on Monday mornings at 5 a.m. and that's one of the things we talked about on. Y'all, excuse me, this old seat's uncomfortable. This desk is high. It's like 36 inches high. I wanted it when I put it together. I wanted it high, and then I got one of these cheap old bar stool deals. Man, that thing is wearing my butt out. I've been playing around in this Studio B pretty much all week trying to get this thing together. And anyway, side journey there. You see these old companies coming in here and buying up land, and people buying up home sites, and they think they just got a pretty view and nice mountain view, and man, they'll flatten the hillside. Now I got a place, and you could tell where a homestead had been here a time or two before. It wasn't near as big as the one I got, but I try to keep my footprint as small as possible. I don't want to interfere with, water coming off the mountains and running down into Stokoa Creek there. I want to make sure that I'm not generating a bunch of mud. We got a dirt road and a gravel road, and I learned a long time ago that a gravel road. Now it's harder to maintain, but it controls runoff a lot better. But it's a little bit quieter concern. It deserves our loud attention. These mountain springs and water rights. With the short-term rentals popping up, new developments rising fast, our natural springs, creeks, and wells are being pulled harder than ever. There's some families here in this county that have lived off the same spring for generations. And now, in some of the drier months of summer, they're running dry. Now, been fortunate this year, and I hope it's a long-term weather pattern that we're starting to get, a wet winter. We do live in a deciduous rainforest, and we need to keep a great deal of water. And I know weather patterns run in decades and centuries and all this. Certain parts of the world, like the Sahara Desert and the desert southwest of the United States, at some time under different weather conditions and a different angle of the earth to the sun, that those were actually pretty wet places, with lakes, and we had glaciers at one time, and the atmosphere changes from millennium to millennium, from dry to wet to hot to cold, and that's so. But if we don't manage those meager resources, our aquifers won't get filled back up if we're pulling more and more out of it. I lived in the Atlanta area on the west side there in Douglas County for 2 or 3 decades, and I first lived out there. The water was cold and clear. And then here comes the developers, and they have some rules and regulations that they're supposed to go by. But every time you get a heavy rain, you see them old streams silting up, and then they're smelling funny, and the fishing ain't near where it was. It's people chasing that dollar, man, chasing that darn dollar, trying to get as much as they can, as quick as they can. And I know progress is a necessity. I understand that, but I also understand that conservation is important. So we really need to talk more about smart land stewardship. I'm not a tree hugger. I am not a tree hugger. I believe that we're blessed with ample resources in the natural resources in this country, and they should be fully utilized, but resourcefully. We need to take care of those resources. We need to make sure that let me move this mic. It's old boom arm, it's overhead, and I ain't figured it out yet, but we need to make sure that we're taking care of our resources and saving some for our children. And, we're fortunate in this county. I think 70% of it is national forest and national lands. And we should take care of that and take pride in it and utilize it. We can do rotation of hardwoods. A forest, don't let anybody tell you any difference. A forest has a natural progression. It'd go from hardwood to softwood. And because, a hardwood forest will not live forever. It dies of old age just like people do. They just happen to live 100 or 200 years. This old stream is giving me trouble today. But anyway, Let me see if I can fix this. Y'all bear with me. If you got a comment on this monologue, y'all let me know. Give me a, yeah, it says my lower bit rate. I don't know. I hate to do anything. I'm liable to lose the entire darn stream, and that'd be a big disappointment too. Anyway, we need to talk about smart land stewardship. Consider, if you got some land and you need to do some work, make sure you consider the water flow before you clear the land. If you're on the side of a mountain, there's going to be water running off that mountain. If you create gullyways and you don't keep vegetation in place, it's going to erode and your darn house could fall off the hillside. I'm sure we're going to see some of this in the Springer Mountain areas and places like that. We're already starting to see it, not necessarily in this county, but in the country in general. Yeah, they got them falling off the hillside in California. We may find out before long that we're going to have the same thing. And if you're going to drill for a well, check with your neighbors, man. Up here where I live at, there's 5 houses, including mine, and we have a small water system. We pump water way up the hill, and it fills the cistern, and then it gravity feeds for all the houses. That's how we get our water pressure. I'm sure it's got check valves and everything else in it. But anyway, make sure you're a good neighbor and talk to them about what you're fixing to do. You hit into their little, bust up their spring head, a natural spring head, and all of a sudden they ain't got no water. They got water rights, and you do too. But it's best to be a good neighbor. Also, man, this old county and skullduggery, I'm not sure, but the water system between the county and the city, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle. We've been dealing, reminds me of a crazy story. I told you I lived out in Douglas County for several decades there, 2 or 3 decades, and WSA, Water and Sewer Authority, they came up with this master plan. Now, this WSA was a privately held company that the county authorized to manage the water resources in Douglas County. And so WSA came up with this bright idea that they was going to charge everybody based on their acreage, based on their lot size. They was going to charge them for managing runoff. And I was on a well, and they didn't even have water down my road, and they started billing me, and I started not paying it. And when I got ready to sell it, they tried to lien it. And I told them, I said, look, I got 3 acres here, and my total cleared land is less than an acre. Probably wouldn't but a 1/4 acre. And the rest of it I left woods, except for a small garden spot, small front yard. And I told them, I can manage the runoff. I don't need your help, and I don't need to pay you to help me. And they was talking about they was going to lien it, and I said, all right, go ahead. And I threatened to file a class action suit, and I started talking to neighbors and going to meetings and stuff like that. And boy, they backed off, and I don't know if they treated everybody else, but they backed off on that with me. And they didn't lien the property, and I sold it, and I hightailed it to Rabun County. But as a final thought on that stuff, listen, most people that live here never understand how fortunate they are to have mountain water. It's more than a utility. It's lifeblood. Let's protect it, okay? Take care of your resources. How about the fishing? Anybody been fishing this week? Somebody send me a comment, man. Man, this old chair breaking my butt. Anybody got a chair they want to get shed of? A high stool or something? It ain't got no wide seat, and I got kind of a wide butt in it. Anyway, kind of hurting my butt. And summer, it's in full burn right now. The bluegill and largemouth bass are biting best early morning and late evening. I went for a walk. What is it? Went for a walk yesterday. I think I covered 3.5 miles yesterday. It took me about an hour and 10 or 15 minutes. But I was down on the Tallulah River down near the gorge, Tougaloo Lake, I think they call it up north of there. And man, I'm walking through there, and it sounded like somebody threw a damn 5-pound sack of potatoes in the lake. And I looked out there, and it was a big old fish. I don't know what he was eating. I didn't see no baby ducks. He might have been going for a bullfrog. I don't know what he was getting, but boy, he busted that water and splashed. And as you walk along the bank, you'll see them big old saucers, that big. And old bluegill guarding it, just won't leave that old aggressive too, boy. You throw something in there, they coming after it, boy. They want nothing. I don't know if they're hungry because they ain't leaving their nest or whether they just aggressive. Don't want nothing in there, but yeah, I noticed that stuff too, and a couple old ducks. I guess they've been some. I walk over there at the lake on Taylor Chapel Road. It's part of the Black Rock State Park, the lake over there, and somebody's always got them old white ducks. I forget what kind they call them, but they leave them. They'll get tired of feeding them or move away, and they'll take them up there and drop them off, and they'll go up in population and down in population depending on the predatory situation. But anyway, they see somebody, a human, they thinking, oh boy, they might got some crackers or some white bread or something I can eat, and they'll start following you around. They quit following me. I think they recognize I ain't there to feed them. I ain't there for their pleasure. I'm there to get my little bit of exercise in and move along. So anywho, but Moxie Creek State Park or on the banks of Lake Burton there, I've had success schooling shad and colder than heck. And old schooling shad out there, something was chasing them shad one morning. I'd come off the trout streams, and I walked like they got a little fishing, little docks and little points there that and the shad was, you could tell something was after them, boy. They was breaking water and hauling butt. And I had the old 2-pound, 4-pound test on the old ultralight rod and that old Zebco T11. And I said, that old shad lure wasn't but about that big. And I cast it out there amongst it, and I see them old shad breaking water, and I throw it right in the middle of them, cut across them, and they were swimming one way, and I'd be cutting across them, acting like I was a sick fish. And boom, man, that darn old 6-pound bass, me trying to bring him in on that 4-pound test, that was got my shoes wet, left my hemostats in the water, had to go back and get them. It was exciting. So get them young folks out there too. Take them young folks with you, little boys and little girls. I remember my daughter. She finally fished that little Moccasin Creek that came out of the stock ponds, the trout rearing ponds, and we was fishing in that. And I remember her catching that first trout of hers. Man, that was, and my son too now. And my grandson Jed, it was there when he caught his little first blue, and he caught 4 or 5 that day, and he was real. Yeah, he didn't want to touch him. He didn't, and I'm saying, boy, you caught that thing. He didn't want to hook it. He didn't want to put the bait on it. And I was kind of rough on him, but I knew he had to learn that kind of thing. And after he did, he learned it well. And, he will do the things now that's required to catch fish. And him and his dad have gone out and done it a time or two. But try topwater lures before sunrise, and then switch to slow jigs or worms along the shady covers in the sun. And with them youngins, just give them a bobber and a worm and I don't know, number 10 hook or something like that, number 12 hook, 8, 10, 12, somewhere around in there. And let them catch them bluegill. Because you know what? There ain't nothing that makes a memory like a cane pole and a bluegill on the line. And now remember, I'm a catch and release guy here. And I keep a pair of hemostats pinched on the shirt right here, just dangling. And I keep my barbs bent back so they're a barbless hook. And I hardly ever take them out of the water. I'll reach down in there and I'll kind of hold them and get the phone and take a picture, and then I'll take them hemostats and just roll that hook out and let them go. I tell people I fish for the scenery. So, and anyway, if you're going to catch and release, let's respect the fish as much as the sport. All right. Woo. Any of y'all ever been to that Rabun Bald? I'm going to put that on my list for this fall or winter. Hike that thing up. That and the stairs down there at Tallulah Gorge. I'm going to take that hike probably this fall. I've been getting in shape. I've been bringing the stamina up, getting good air. So I think I can. Man, old back is sore and stiff too from sitting here. I think I'm about ready. Y'all let me know. How many of y'all ever done that old Rabun Bald hike? But that's what I want to talk about tonight. It's the second highest peak in Georgia. And it's 4,696 feet. That's about 1,000 feet higher than Black Rock Mountain. Going up there to Tennessee Rock. And that old thing about where's this old fat boy out making that march? The Cherokee called it the Bald and told stories of fire-breathing demon people who lived on its slope. Now, whether it's a myth or a metaphor, it reminds us that the land holds mysteries. I know it feels like fire breathing something or another one on my legs going up there. It says here today you can hike the 5.8 mile Rabun Bald Trail and see 3 states from the summit. I don't know if that 5.8 is one way or a round trip. Anybody know? Anybody know? Let me know. Might make a difference. Might have to make an overnighter. That would definitely be an all-day thing, though, wouldn't it, for me? Even if it were a round trip of 5.8 miles, that would probably be a all-day thing for me going uphill. Man, on my butt is it? Y'all help me out here. I ain't got a cushion on this thing. All right. But more than the view, you'll feel the weight of time. Old growth trees, stone remnants, and whispers of those who came before. Take a friend, take your time and take pride beneath your boots. At Raven County Bald, it's just up the road where in Sky Valley up that way. Can't be too far away. You be out of the darn state. Anyway, moving on. Here's a few dates to mark on your calendars. Last summer bash of the season at Tal Luau. I think they're trying to make a luau out of Tallulah. I'm going to write an old song about Tallulah River. I think I've already got started. Talluau. That's what it's called, and that's on September 1st. Last summer bash of the season. They're going to have a DJ. They're going to have games, and they're going to have door prizes. And another Clayton Crawl. Didn't they have one in the spring? That's on September 21st. Local food, drink, and tunes in the heart of Main Street. Proceeds support scholarships and community programs. October 5th, Foxfire Mountaineer Festival. Y'all just put these in your calendars. I'll talk about them again. Downtown Clayton explodes with Appalachian traditions, blacksmithing, mountain music, and more. Make sure you show up, bring the family, and support the groups keeping our culture alive. All right. You know, all that stuff aside, it's getting close to quitting time here. Got another 15 minutes or so, and I hadn't seen any comments or seen any visitors, so if I finish up a little early, I'm going to finish up a little early and get my butt up off this chair and shut down all these. I bet I'm burning 100 watts right now, all this darn computer gear. Got a little fan behind me trying to keep the temperature down. But I really enjoy getting out here and having this information. You know, we live in a place where the neighbors still wave at you. You may not have had conversations with them, but you've probably seen them. Every time you go down the road, they're either taking a walk or working in the yard. There's still old barns that stand. And the kids still climb trees. And the creeks still run clear. But it won't stay that way unless we fight for it. How do we fight for it? We get into fisticuffs or... No. Show up. Show up at these town meetings, these county commissioner meetings. Let them know you got an eye on them. Let them know that cronyism and that brother-in-lawism and that nepotism. That's what that's called. We're not going to let cronyism and nepotism destroy the culture which we live in so they can make a few extra bucks. Now, I understand people got a right to do whatever they want with their money. But you got to keep the larger community in mind. You know, fight by choosing wisely. And that's who you might sell your land to or who you elect. You know, county I used to live in, and you know, Douglas County, used to have a lot of farming community, ranching community, and people would come in there and buy these large tracts of land and built these, I call them mini mansions or Mac mansions or whatever they are, and they crowd them in there and get 2 or 3 of them on an acre, and ain't no runoff. What runoff there is ain't nothing but mud running into the Chattahoochee, and lack of controls of, you know, politicians making deals with business owners and business owners ignoring the EPA regulations. The only time the EPA would get involved is when a politician calls, say, hey, the real thing is old boy wasn't paying his dues, his letting the politician getting his beak wet, wasn't getting the donations for his political campaigns, and he would sick the authorities on them. I've worked in a couple places. They would ignore the environmental regulations, had absolute disregard for them until they couldn't or wouldn't support a politician. And then all of a sudden the EPA is knocking on the doggone door. And so it's a mess. It's a shame, but fight by choosing wisely, whether that's who you sell land to or who you elect. And I know if you've been a farmer for 40 years and you got one hand, a young guy who wants to come in and continue to live in the farming community and tend the land and be a good steward, versus a real estate developer wanting to come in there with 4 times the value that the young guy can afford. Man, that's tough. That's tough. But listen, there ain't no community when you got three $500,000 homes on an acre, and there's 50 acres in there. Them people are so busy trying to keep up their impressions, trying to live a life influenced by social media influencers and being sold stuff through advertisement. That just is, I feel so sorry for those people. So let's teach our children that living free means living responsibly. Let's keep the land around us wild, our culture rooted, and our voices loud enough to echo through the hills. All right, couple things here. This is a community outreach, Rabun County RAG. You've been here before, and I'm trying out some new scripts here. And I'd like to have some input on what to talk about. We are a community of people, and I'd like to see us turn this place into a place where we can get together and be a community. Just once a week, an hour for an hour. Anyway, moving along here, this is also a place for trade ideas, trade resources, and I'm still looking for them old them Harrow disc I want to make me a cooking pan out of. So if you run across this and you know somebody that's got a old rusted out disc Harrow, still got some disc on it, and wants to sell it to me at scrap value, man, I sure would appreciate it. Mr. Hitchcock over there and Tiger, I appreciate that old hay you got me, that old mulch hay. It's really helped the garden out. And the wife was out there pulling weeds. I said, how's them weeds? Is they hard to get up? She go, no, they come out real easy. That's because of that mulch. You're mulching that ground, and them weeds, that grass and those wildflowers and wild plants, they got good deep roots, but they're in loose soil, so they're easy to remove. And you just put them in the compost pile and turn them back into the garden come spring. I guess do I need to start thinking about my collard greens and turnip greens and kale? Y'all let me know. I think it's about time. I need to start thinking about getting ready to plant them old winter crops. I like to keep old deer fed. Anyway, looks like and I'll work on this stream. This one seems to be going a little slower tonight than it normally does, and I think it's because of the settings I've got in this program, and I'll work on that before next week and see if I can't improve that for you guys. It's just, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out. I want to get out here and visit with you guys, and so I'm having to learn all these technical skills to make that happen. But anyway, it looks like we're 10 minutes early, and I've run out of things to talk about, but I'd like to say thanks for tuning in tonight. If something stirred your spirit, share it. If you've got a story, some of y'all involved with the Rabun County Historical, hey, listen, I can set up and we can have a one of them video things where there's a guest and you've got a story to tell. Man, we'll let you sit down and tell your story. Share it with the community. They might appreciate it. I know I would. But if you've got a story worth telling, send it my way. I'd really love to hear it, and I'd really love to share it. This is the Rabun County Rag, and I'm honored to be here with you and ride this pony. So until next Thursday at 6 o'clock, keep your powder dry, your heart warm, and your roots deep in Rabun soil. And I will see you in the woods, on the lake, or right back here. And most importantly, have a grateful day. And we'll see you next week at 6 o'clock. I got to figure out how to stop this now. All right.